Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GM Sports Report, your weekly podcast on all things sports where every play counts. I'm Grant, and I'm here with my co-host Mason as we get ready to cover the latest news, headlines, and upcoming events going on in the sports world. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see all things GM Sports Report. Mason, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Grant. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
That's
So we're just
good.
gonna jump straight into it. We like to start every week with our hot take of the week. So Mason, what's your hot take this week?
All right, so I know a lot of people call me biased, but this is pretty much the only thing I'm gonna go as far as like my teams. So I genuinely believe that the New York Giants are a QB away from being a playoff caliber team. Call me crazy, whatever, but there's been so many games this season that were just lost due to mediocre quarterback play by Daniel Jones. And I do think that when the Giants draft Cam Ward this season in the draft, that we'll be able to have all those assets that we have, really be able to show. So yeah, that's my
Right.
hot take.
You don't think O-line's still a problem if you get a good quarterback?
Well, honestly, Andrew Thomas, he's really the biggest reason. Like he's injured right now, so
Okay.
he's really been showing how big of a piece he is for our O line. But yeah, I mean, I think them and are probably our corners, but really, I think the quarterback we could have won a lot more
Main
games if we had a
thing.
better quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just asking because I was watching last night's game and I noticed that it seemed like
Yeah.
Daniel Jones was getting under a lot of pressure. So I wanted to get your take on that as a fan. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
kind of agree. I mean, I don't want you guys to take Cam Ward because I love
Mhm.
Cam Ward and I don't want to see him get set up for failure. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
It'll be interesting if you guys do get a new quarterback to see because I do think you have the talent there with Neighbors. And I do think that Tracy, that running back you guys have,
Oh
I think
yeah,
he's the future of running back for you guys. Good game last
for
night. So
sure.
yeah, should be interesting. My hot take of the week, it has something to do with the both of us.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, we are going to be going to the New York Knicks at Miami Heat game. And my hot take is that the Miami Heat will beat the Knicks on Wednesday because I'm sure most people will say that the Knicks will win. So that's going to be my
Okay.
hot take. I think we're going to,
Yeah.
we have two pretty good wins coming off of. Just dedicated the court, the Pat Riley court, just got the statue for Dwayne Wade's statue, which I'll get into later about that because there's a lot of
Mhm.
noise going on about that. But I think that we're going to win. I'm feeling good right now. We'll see.
Okay.
That's my hot take.
Yep. Okay. I like it. It can kind of go both ways. But
Exactly.
yeah, I think it'll definitely be one of the most interesting games that we've been to. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Next, we're going to do another thing we like to do every week, which is point out someone that maybe doesn't get pointed out as much, which is our underdog of the week. Mason, who is your underdog of the week this week?
So this week, the Packers played the Colts, and Jordan Love went out with a groin injury, and Malik Willis stepped in and stepped up. He went four
Hmm.
for five, 56 yards, and threw the go-ahead touchdown. So, I think he is getting a lot of praise, but I think he is rightfully deserving for the underdog of the week.
I like that because he also stepped up earlier in the season after that week 1 injury
Right.
that Jordan Love had. And I think he didn't lose a
Mm-hmm.
game when he was playing those games, if I'm
No,
not
I don't.
mistaken.
Yeah, no, because they're
So,
6-2 now, and I think the only two games they lost was with Jordan Love, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah.
yeah. So that's a good pick. Shout out Malik Willis. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also going with a quarterback. I think this is like a fan favorite from this past week, and that is famous Jameis Winston coming in
Mm-hmm.
and beating the Ravens after Deshaun Watson suffered a season-ending injury. He went 27 of 41 for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns, and also led the team on a game-winning drive at the end of the game. And look, it wasn't against some bums. He played the Ravens, who are
No.
considered like favorites right now, which that's just very impressive to me. I'm so happy to see Jameis Winston have this moment because as a big Jameis Winston fan, I've always wanted to see his career pan out in the NFL, and obviously it hasn't yet. But seeing that made me super happy, and who knows if he keeps doing good, maybe something can come out of this all. But I love Jameis Winston.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a great personality. I think he's a great leader. Yeah, so it's only right to have him as my underdog of the week this week.
Nice.
All right. So next thing we're going to do is jump into the news going around the sports world. We'll start with the NFL. First thing we're going to do is give a game prediction update. This is where we give our weekly picks for every single game. We post those on Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report. this past week we both tied for an 11-5 record. My overall record is 80-43. Your overall record is 77-47. So you're 3 games back from me. And yeah, well, let's just keep going with that and see where it goes. You're slowly catching up, but yeah, we tied this week. So make sure you're following Instagram and TikTok at GM Sports Report to see those game predictions that we do every week. We have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing we're going to do is something we just like to do for the NFL news is we give our 3 takeaways from the previous week of football. So Mason, what are your 3 takeaways?
So my 3 takeaways, starting with my first takeaway, is that Russell Wilson is looking like Seattle Russ again. Last night he was cooking against my New York Giants, and he's only played 2
Dangerous.
games. Yeah, for Mr. Unlimited. So I think he's only been in 2 games this season, but last night he went 20 for 28, 278 yards and a touchdown. And he did have 2 passing touchdowns, both to George Pickens taken away. One from a penalty with an offensive face mask, and then the other Pickens couldn't get his foot down, which is actually kind of crazy because he got his right foot down twice and his left foot was just in the air the whole time. So that I think was the first time I saw that. But yeah, Russell Wilson and the Steelers offense is getting into it. And of course, their defensive line is always going to be, the scariest thing on that team. But yeah, Steelers are looking very good. And then my next takeaway is that Kirk Cousins, we continue to talk about him. He's just been on a tear with his new team with the Falcons. They're now 5-3, coming off another win against the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. He threw for 267 yards, 23 for 29, and had 4 touchdowns. So he's just been killing it. And I think he's completely embracing Atlanta, and Atlanta's embracing Kirk. And my last and final takeaway is that I think we kind of all knew that the Jets weren't going to be as good as, advertised. But, man, I did not think that they were going to be this bad.
Right.
I think losing to the Patriots is kind of the nail in the coffin for them this season,
sure.
especially under Drake May. I mean, it's just Rodgers had 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Breece Hall had 16 carries, 80 yards. Garrett Wilson, he had a great game, 5 catches, 113 yards, but they I don't know what it was. I personally didn't watch the game, but they can't pull out any wins, and it's showing. So yeah, it's just
for sure.
continues to be talked about every week.
Yeah, those are all 3 really good takeaways. For once, we finally don't have the same of something because I feel like every week one of us picks the same thing. So
yeah,
I'm going to start with my takeaways. The first one I have is that the Ravens defense is starting to get concerning, and that can be ultimately what holds them back from being true Super Bowl contenders. Obviously, I was just giving praises to Jameis Winston for beating them, but at the same time, how do you give up like 29 points to Cleveland at the end of the day as the Ravens defense? They had that dropped interception at the end of the game. They had very bad coverage on the pass, and they gave up multiple deep balls. And I think it's starting to get concerning. You're not playing good defense against bad teams. What are you going to do when you're playing against like the Bills in a playoff game or something like that? You're in an atmosphere where you really need a good defense, and they're not going to show up. I don't think for right now. It looks that way anyway. So it's starting to get a little concerning. That's my first takeaway. Number 2, for any of those that had a doubt, I don't know how many people actually doubted this, but Jaden Daniels basically just proved that he's the best quarterback in this year's draft by beating Caleb Williams this past week. Good game, by the way. Obviously with the crazy finish on the Hail Mary there. But yeah, he went 21 of 38 for 326 yards, 1 touchdown, obviously the Hail Mary at the end. And this is all while having an injury and dealing with an injury right now in his ribs. So pretty impressive game. And I think this kind of just put the nail in the coffin for the debate about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels for at least right now. Obviously, it's only one season, but for this year, it's no debate that Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback in this draft so far. My number 3 takeaway is that with Puka and Cooper Kupp back, the Rams are legit. They beat the Vikings 30-20. Puka had 7 receptions, 106 yards in his first game back, and Kupp in his first game back had 5 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, they have Kyron Williams, who's a great running back, probably one of the best running backs in the league right now. Stafford's a reliable quarterback. So, yeah, I think that they're pretty legit. They got a decent defense. with them back and healthy, I know there was rumors about maybe trading Cup. I hope they don't do that after this past week because they
Right.
look like they can be legit, a legit team going forward here. So that's my third takeaway. Those are my three takeaways from this last week.
Nice.
Next thing we're going to do is hop into the MLB. Obviously, the World Series is going on. Mason, as a Yankees fan, for those who don't know, so it's been a rough few days for the past week or so. Mason, what are your just thoughts on the World Series right now? Let's have a vent session for you here. Let it out.
All right. So honestly, game one, we were going good, had momentum going into the game. We got a couple runs, we were ahead going into the ninth, and I don't know what the thought process was, but bases loaded, one out, walking Mookie. All right, cool. Got what was it, Freddie Freeman coming up, and let's go throw ahead Nestor Cortez in, who hasn't pitched in a month, by the way. Well, he gets Shohei out first, I believe, and then
Yes.
they walk Mookie, and
Yes.
then Freddie comes in, I think. And then Freddie, first pitch he sees, walk-off grand slam, and the Dodgers are rocking. So I think we've kind of all seen how that's been showing out so far. Yankees down 0-3, and I am honestly not looking forward to watch them tonight. I didn't look forward to watching them last night. I was kind of hoping in the first half of the game, like, okay, cool, we're at home, let's get something rolling. But just in the beginning, man, it seemed like there was no energy at Yankee Stadium at all. And like all the people that I follow, like that are all like the Yankees fans, podcasters or whatever, they were saying you could hear a pin drop in the stadium. They had
Mm.
it was sad to see, and I'm honestly so glad I didn't waste any money even trying to go because
Right.
man, that would have been a very bad financial decision. So I mean, yeah, that's that.
Yeah, coming from an outside perspective, I was definitely expecting more of a fight from the Yankees so far. It's just been kind of brutal to watch their offense right now. I mean, that game two till like the ninth inning, the only hit they had was Juan Soto's solo shot. And then I think the
Solo, yeah.
second hit of the game was Juan Soto again. So it's kind of
It
like
was him and Stanton,
crazy.
I believe. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
right, right. So it's just been weird to see their offense just completely disappear. And then obviously what's being talked about a lot, actually, I was about to say it's not being talked about, but it is just the decision making from Aaron Boone right now. I don't get a lot of the decisions he's making right now. Um, I know you were talking to me about this the other day, and at first I didn't agree with you, but after the offense has been this bad, why have they not changed the batting lineup around a little bit? Try to get something going here. I mean, it's kind of do or die now. Obviously, we're recording this at the time of the series is 3-0, so the series could be over by the time we post this tomorrow. It's just been weird. I've been expecting way more of a fight from the Yankees. I think the Dodgers are doing a great job pitching right now. I'm not trying to discredit them. I think they've come out and been the hotter
Right.
team. I think they're riding off that momentum from game one, and they haven't looked back since. But yeah, it's been very interesting. But next thing I want to talk about is if the Yankees have any sort of a chance, what is something that each team needs to improve on going forward in this series?
All right, so I will say that Yankees need to improve literally anything that you can do in the game of baseball. Um, whether it's whether it's pitching, batting, fielding, everything. It's just all been horrible, and there's really been no, bright spot. And that's another thing that I've seen is like there's been no hope at all. It's like, oh yeah, maybe we could pull it back. Um, I think the biggest thing that can improve is just their energy. That's the
Mm.
biggest thing. If you have no energy, you're not going to win a game. You're not going to come close to winning a game. We saw game two, they were still feeling it from game one, how bad that affected them. One
Right.
hit going into the ninth, that's ridiculous. And Dodgers, they just got to keep riding this momentum that they have. And honestly, I feel like no team in the MLB at all could touch them. And I think the ones that we did see how I think that the NL, championship and division series was the probably the best baseball we've seen this
Right.
season personally. But yeah, I mean, I just think that those are just the biggest keys, and just keep riding that momentum that the Dodgers had, and Yankees got to change something up drastically because Judge
Right.
hasn't been doing anything, and it's been showing. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, obviously the thing I put down for the Yankees need to improve is number one, Aaron Judge needs to be better. I mean, he's what is it, like 7 of 10 at bats he's struck out or something like that.
Hmm.
He's just been striking out a lot. He's been struggling. He hasn't been showing up with runners in scoring position or anything like that. But also another thing that I put down is just the decision making in whole. That goes for the manager. Aaron Boone needs to be making better decisions. The players need to be making better decisions. The third base coach
Oh
needs to
my
be making better
gosh.
decisions.
Oh my
Why are we sending
God,
Giancarlo Stanton
dude.
when the ball is already in the glove of Teoscar Hernandez while he's round in third base? I mean, that's just a terrible decision to make. Yeah,
Gosh.
it's just been weird mistakes that I hadn't seen them be making leading up to the World Series. It's very weird. It's strange. I mean, obviously they've had their base running mistakes. That's true. Their base
Right,
running
right.
has notoriously been known for their mistakes, but I've seen some fielding mistakes. I've seen obviously some coaching mistakes. It's been very weird. They need to
Hmm.
clean it up. Obviously, it's do or die now, being down 3-0. So I don't know how much hope they have left, but something that the Dodgers need to improve on, not that they really need to improve on too much, is
I know.
they've left a lot of runners on stranded on base. They have. If they can clean that up, that will ultimately just dominate the Yankees. Then, if they can clean that up, that's pretty much the only thing I have for them to improve.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much the news in the MLB right now. A little bit sadder for Mason today because I'm surprised you're wearing a Yankee shirt right now. I didn't notice that till
I
just
know,
now.
man.
You have
I know.
some guts for wearing that right now.
I know. I have to
Uh,
like believe it in my heart. I don't, but I have
right,
to.
right. All right, next we're gonna head into the NBA because the first week of the season has concluded and NBA is fully back into the swing of things. So what I want to do is point out our player of the week. So Mason, who's your NBA player of the week?
So my NBA player of the week right now is Anthony Davis. He has just
Mm,
been like unstoppable. It seems like 32.8 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, and then what was it, 3 assists per game in 4 games. So there's a lot of time. But if he can stay consistent on this route, he'll for sure be up there when it talks when it comes to MVP talks. So
right.
yeah, he's been insane.
Yeah, Anthony Davis has been absolutely great for the Lakers right now. I almost picked him, but I went with Shea Gilgeous
Mm,
Alexander.
mm,
28.7 points per game, 6.3 assists, 8.7 rebounds, but he's also averaging 3 steals and 2 blocks, which is just
mm.
incredible defense. And all this while leading his team to a 3-0 record right now. Shea, I absolutely love Shea Gilgeous Alexander. I think he's just such a great player. Um, he's been great so far this year. So yeah, that's my player of the week. Next thing I want to
Nice.
do is point out your team of the week. This is just highlighting the team that we thought was the best team the past week. So Mason, who is your team?
So I know it's kind of friendly fire right now, just coming off a loss to him, but I'll have to say Cleveland.
Mm,
4-0 after beating the Knicks Monday night. Donovan Mitchell, 23.8 points per game. Jared Allen, almost 10 rebounds a game. And then Garland, almost 5 assists per game. They've played some weak teams so far this season with the Raptors, Pistons, and Wizards. But um, that Knicks game last night, Knicks almost pulled it out. But, they're riding that momentum that they have, and I'm really interested to see where they kind of go from here. I love that Donovan Mitchell is kind of the guy that they have, and he's just been killing it.
right.
So yeah, I think they've been great, and I'm really interested to see what they do forward.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I had two teams picked because I had a feeling you might pick Cleveland, and Cleveland was one of the teams that I
Mm,
picked. So the other team that I'm going to talk about is a team that I normally am not too high on. I actually wasn't very high on them coming into this season. I thought that they wouldn't be that good this year, but they're off to a pretty hot start, and that is the Los Angeles Lakers. They're at a 3-1 record right now. They lost a tough one to the Suns last night, but as we said, Anthony Davis is looking like one of the best players in the league right now, and their team
mhm.
looks pretty solid right now. I was not high on them at all. I thought JJ Redick being a coach was a bad
Yeah.
decision. It seems like they like JJ Redick so far. It seems like he's making good decisions. The team chemistry looks good. LeBron hasn't looked great, but he's been good. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's been good enough to win
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
Austin Reeves has looked really good, and I know that that's what they've been looking for is for him to take a big jump. D'Angelo Russell's been all right. So yeah, it's a team that looks pretty good so far. 3-1. I was not expecting them to be this good so far. So it'll be interesting to see how they play out for the next couple weeks. But that's my team of the week. I wanted to give a little shout out to them because I probably won't very much in the future because I'm not too high on them usually.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I also just wanted to quickly mention in the NBA that we are going to New York Knicks at Miami tomorrow. So make sure you're following the TikTok at GM Sports Report. We'll be posting a vlog about that. We might be posting some like halftime reactions, some pregame
Mm-hmm.
reactions, postgame reactions, all kinds of things like that. It's gonna be a fun little trip that we're gonna do. What are we 1-1 when we go and watch Knicks versus Heat? I believe.
Um, I think has it been just twice? Because I know
I
we
think it
went
was
once
the Randall
for
game winner and then the
Randall.
playoff game.
Yep, I think you're right. I don't know why I feel like we've been with so much more. I don't
I
know.
because we've been
Yeah,
to so
but
many
yeah.
Heat games, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we are 1-1. Both been well, one has been a very good game.
Well,
The
one was a
other
very
one
good
not
game
so
for
much.
me.
No, no. For those who don't know that playoff game, Knicks got absolutely like he just wiped the floor
Destroyed.
with them. It wasn't even like fun to watch. I'm talking about
Right.
Eagles versus Giants this past week. Like it was bad. So I don't remember
Yeah.
really remember too much from that, but hopefully this Wednesday game is a lot more fun for both of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, it should be a fun game. All right, that pretty much wraps up the NBA news. So next thing we're going to talk about is UFC 308. That card went underway last weekend. Taporia versus Holloway. Um, what was your fight of the night for that? Or actually, no. Let's start with your thoughts on the main event. Let's just jump straight into it. Holloway versus Taporia. What were your thoughts on that fight?
So first off, leading into it, I know we were both kind of saying like the chills and like the gut feeling we had, like we felt like we were about to go walk out of the tunnel and
Right.
fight. I was actually saying like, oh man, I wish I can give my energy to Max right now because that's
Right.
who we both wanted to win. But man, like starting off, Taporia, just his pressure alone is insane. The way that he had Max kind of running around the cage, you can tell that his presence was felt the whole time. And Max, he was piecing him up, and I think Taporia only had one take. It was either one or two takedowns, I think.
I think it was
Um,
one in the first
but
round.
right, I think so too. Because 2 and 3 we were expecting it, but we never got it. And
Mm,
then, Holloway was doing well. He started feeling like he was loosening up towards the end of the second round, kind of going into the third round. And then,
hmm
Taporia he caught him. And after he caught him off that, I think it was like a right hook or something. He just stumbled and couldn't recover fast enough for Taporia to just be all up over him. So it was a good fight, 1 and 2, and then 3. It kind of just started going down, and yeah, that was that knockout. It was just sad to see for anyone who's a Max fan. I don't know what knockout was worse, his or Volk's. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
both down so bad. So yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Definitely wouldn't want to watch that again. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, like you said, it was a pretty good fight. I'm so upset that knockout happened because could you imagine how much of a slugfest it'd be going into the fifth
Oh my
if it was
gosh,
like
I
if it
know,
was
I
tied
know.
2-2? Like I feel like we were robbed of like pure obviously it was a very entertaining fight, getting the knockout. I'm
It
not saying that
was
it wasn't an entertaining fight. I actually have it as my fight of the night, which I'll get into in a couple minutes here.
okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, it was a great fight. Obviously I'm biased because Max Holloway was who I was pulling for. And it's not that I dislike Ilya Taporia at all. Look, I have so much respect for Ilya Taporia. This man knocked out two greats in the division for
Back
his
to
last
back.
two fights in Volkanovski and Holloway. That's just so impressive and not being talked about enough. I mean, DC was talking about it. He said it'd be the equivalent to if like Alex Pereira fought John Jones and DC in the same year and knocked both of them out. Is like basically what you could compare that to. So it's very impressive what he's doing right now, and I am excited to see what's in his future. I just hope he finally fights a fighter
Yeah,
that I
man.
won't be cheering for because obviously I'm a
I
Holloway fan.
know.
Obviously, I was a Volkanovski fan. So I hope I could finally like cheer for him if that makes any sense. But with the way our luck's been going, it might not be a good idea to
Oh
start
my
cheering for him because he'll
gosh.
probably end up losing. Because for the last year now, almost every fighter we've cheered for has
Jeez,
seemed to
man.
find a way to lose. It's been brutal. but hopefully that turns around going into the John Jones event coming up here. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got to say about the main event. It was a good fight. I'm upset with the result, obviously, but got to respect Ilia Topuria and his efforts. He looked very good. So now I want to get your opinions on the fight of the night and your fighter of the night.
So I'll say my fight of the night, like it honestly shocked me, the outcome at least. It was the Murphy versus Ige.
Mm,
I think we were kind of both expecting for I think it was Ige to win.
yes,
Because he got the only knockdown of the fight. It did say on the stats that Murphy had I think 3 takedowns in like 6 attempts, which I don't
right,
really remember seeing. I must have just been zoned out or something, but he did have a higher significant strikes and total strikes landed. So I guess if you're counting that way, which I'm sure the judges were,
right.
it was just surprising to see. So I think that's why I kind of picked it as a fight of the night because it had me stumped, it had you stumped, and it was like, oh, okay,
Right.
well, I didn't think it'd kind of go that way, but I think they both did well. And
Mhm.
Ige, that's her boy, so it's still fun to watch. Um, uh, Fighter of the night is Taporia. He just
Fair enough.
he was insane. Like, I just I'd love to see him for like a good match. Like a skilled opponent that like would go the distance. Not saying that
Yeah.
Max wasn't, but
Right.
just someone maybe that's on the even playing field of him. So it'll be
You wanna
interesting to
see his
see
full
moving
bag. You wanna see
forward.
him get into his
Yes,
full
yes, exactly. Like
arsenal.
takedowns and stuff,
Right.
everything. So, um, like we saw that kind of with what's his name, Pereira.
Pereira in his
That
last
was
fight.
interesting. His last fight. Yeah, exactly. I want to see something
100%.
like that with him. So just to really see how great he is. So yeah, that's my fighter of the night.
Yeah, my fight of the night, as I hinted at earlier, was Taporia versus Holloway. I do think that it was one of the better main events in a little bit. I think it was back and forth. I
Hmm.
actually had Holloway up 2-0 going into that third round. I don't know how other
Right.
people were scoring it, but I think Holloway looked very sharp and clean, and then he just got clipped at the end of the day. And Taporia just put it on him. That left hook that got him was just absolutely filthy. So yeah, that's my fight of the night, and my fighter of the night is Shara Bullet Magomedov. I don't know
Mm.
how I probably butchered that last
Yeah.
name, but I just call him Bullet. That
Yeah.
double spinning elbow knockout is
Oh
probably one of the
snap! I
craziest
totally forgot
knockouts
about that.
I have seen in a
Oh
long
my
time. Since
gosh.
probably the Holloway versus Gaethje knockout.
Yeah,
Just an
that was
absolutely
crazy.
crazy thing. And I actually saw a video of him during his media workout, and he predicted that move. He was practicing the double spinning elbow. And I love when fighters like predict like their knockouts, like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
Conor
yeah.
McGregor did it with Jose
Yep.
Aldo. So yeah, that's my fighter of the night. He looked
Wow.
impressive. He caught out Israel Adesanya. That could be a very interesting fight heading down the line. I think that he has a bright future. He looks very good. So yeah, that's my fighter of the night is the Bullet. I'm not going to try to pronounce his
I
last name
to-
again. So the Bullet.
yeah. I totally forgot about that move, man. Like that was
Yeah, that's
that had
crazy.
the whole place. We were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I had the whole place like, dang, man, that just
Yeah,
happened.
it was
So
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's pretty much all the news for UFC 308. It was a pretty good card, I'd say.
it was.
Obviously, as Holloway fans, it stinks a little
We
bit, but
can't
it did the
win.
same thing
We
for the
can't win,
Volkanovski
man.
card too. Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
win. Also, I actually one more question I want to ask you real quick. There's a lot of talk about
Hmm.
who Ilia Topuria should fight next. They kind of hinted at a Volkanovski rematch. Who do you think is the next
Yeah.
fight for Topuria, like a good next opponent for him?
Oh, man, I'd love to see him. I'd love to just see somebody like move up or down to fight
Hmm,
him, but I know it's way too early in his title run for that. But
right.
overall, wait, is Islam? He's over him, right?
Yeah, he's one weight
Oh
class
yeah,
up.
okay. Yeah, I'd love to see that. That would be a
Yeah, that would
good
be
fight.
great. It would be great.
Um, Now that would probably be coming further down the line. Just both kind
Yes.
of get their title defenses, but talk about a super fight. That would be the super fight if Pereira couldn't get something
Yeah,
going. But
it'd be
that would
crazy.
probably be the most anticipated fight.
Yeah, I
Why? What would
agree.
you
That's
say?
one of the um I think what I think they're gonna end up doing is giving them the Volkanovski rematch because they're gonna give
Yeah,
Volk
yeah,
his chance out of like respect. But a fight that I would be
right.
interested in, I think you might not like because you like this guy a lot, as I would love to see Diego Lopez go in there with him and get a title shot.
Oh,
I think that would
snap.
be a very good fight. He was the backup fighter going into this fight, so I think it would be interesting to see him go at it with him.
Oh,
Both
man.
two very young up and coming fighters. I don't know how it would pan out for Diego Lopez, but it'd be interesting to see him go in
That's
there.
that's feeding them to the wolves, man.
Yeah, right. So yeah, we'll see what happens down the line for Taporia, but I hope he just fights someone that I can finally cheer for Taporia. Like if he fought Islam, that would
Yeah,
be fine
yeah.
with me because I could finally cheer for
Oh,
him.
for sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much all for UFC 308. Next, we're going to head into college football. And basically, I just want to get a little Heisman debate going here. There's a lot of talk about who should be the Heisman. There's really three big names that stick into mind for me. Maybe there's some other guys, but I want to get your opinion on who should win Heisman this year.
Ah, man. So I was all set on Genty, and I still am. I still want him to win. He's my favorite. But after that stat line I saw of Travis Hunter
Hmm.
off the offensive and defensive, what was it? Is it Big Ten Player of the
Right.
Week? Oh
Yes.
my god! Like we haven't seen that in the history of college football before, and that's like if it can go any way now. There's like it's just up in the air. I really don't see a sure winner right now. Genty's got the numbers, but he's got the talent. Travis
Hmm.
Hunter's got the talent, and Cam Ward is obviously the greatest quarterback in college right now. But I can't see it being to him,
Yeah.
just because of the other
He's
numbers
at an
that these
uphill
guys are
battle
putting
right
up.
now.
He is, yeah, yep. He's on Natty watch though. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so as far as Heisman goes, I kind of have this split into three different things for me. I'm going to start with who I think should win, and that's Ashton Genty. I
Hmm.
think that numbers don't lie. 1,376 yards and 18 touchdowns is just absolutely
Yeah.
absurd when you're like going into week 10. I mean, that's what most people put up in a full season, so it's just crazy to me. The second section I have it is who I think will win, and that's Travis Hunter. Obviously, 60 receptions, 757 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Also, while playing amazing defense on the other end of the football. I think, like you said, it's something we've never seen before. So I think that'll ultimately land him the Heisman Trophy. And then the third thing I have is who I want to win, and that's obviously Cam Ward because that's my QB, and he's obviously at 2,746 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and leading his team to an 8-0 record. I don't think he'll win, but obviously I want him to. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think who I think should win, Genty, who I think will win, Hunter, who I want to win, Cam Ward. That's my Heisman debate.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. All right, so that pretty much wraps up the news going on in the sports world. So now we're gonna hop into our next segment, which is one of my personal favorite segments that we do. We keep doing
Yeah.
it now. That is the floor is not yours. This is where we kind of just give our top 5 biggest fails going on in the sports world. So Mason, what is your floor is not yours list?
All right. So starting at number 5, I feel like just because of how bad they've been doing, they haven't been like talked about enough. I'd say is FSU
Mm,
football. Being the worst football team in FSU history after being ranked 10th coming into the season, it couldn't get much worse for them. I mean,
right.
it could have if they lost to Cal, but
Mm,
which is still surprising they even won that game. But man, it's so insane to see how they went from an undefeated season last year to just one of the worst teams in college football. So they're
right.
my number 5. And number 4, I'm sure you have on your list as well. I'm sure I have a couple of guys that you have on your list. Is Anthony Richardson
Yeah.
for coming out of the game in a must-win situation because you're tired. Like, not only that, but he threw 10 for 32, 170 yards, touchdowns, and an interception. So it's like the fact that he was at the presser after a loss like that and just be like, man, I ain't gonna lie, I was just tired. Like, dude, like you guys
Yeah,
had
that's
to win that
crazy.
game. So just the if you're if you're a Colts fan and you see that, I'm sure you're sick to your stomach, man. That's not what you want to see from your supposed to be franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Same with the stat line. Number 3, Kyle Hamilton dropping what would have been the game-winning pick against the Browns. You touched on it a little earlier, but man, then he like caught it like 3 times before it dropped.
It was so
I
bad.
like
It
there's
was so brutal to
nobody
see.
around him. Like that's one of those where if you're a Ravens fan, you're like again your heart breaks, and
Right.
you could not have just drawn that up for an easier interception, and he just dropped it. So that's bad to see. And then going to another DB, Tyreek Stevenson for taunting the Washington crowd, middle of the play, mind you, middle of the play, to then go over and then tip the ball to cause the game-winning Hail Mary. So it's just I don't know. I've never seen much more of an instant karma moment in sports
Oh,
other than that. And
right.
all of like those YouTube videos of like instant karma moments by like Ding Productions or something.
Mhm.
They're like that's gonna be on everything for this season.
Yeah.
And number 1, I talked on this a little bit, is Aaron Boone for being the most incompetent coach I think I've ever seen in sports world. So game 1, like I said, Nestor Cortez. Game 2, pinch hits what's his name? Shoot. Jose Trevino, sorry.
Mhm.
Um and he hasn't played a single game this whole like postseason. So that
Right.
was another thing where it's like, man, what are you doing? And then just the whole coaching staff for that matter, third base coach and just everything has just been horrible. So I think all the blame should go to Aaron Boone. Um, he protects his guys, but you got to change the lineup at some point, man. So yeah,
Should he be
that's my
fired?
top 5. I think
Should he be
so.
fired?
I genuinely yes, I think so. Um, I don't
I
know what
agree.
we do for a coach then, but I can't stand the lack of change that's been going on, especially in these situations that you need change. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty good list. We have a lot of similarities. Number
Mhm.
5, I do have the Kyle Hamilton dropping a game-winning interception. Like you said, just absolutely brutal. Like he had it in his hands 3 separate times. No one was around him. It's
No,
just hard. It was hard to watch. Like it made me cringe, like watching it because of how easy of an interception it was. And he's a good defender. He had a great game,
I know.
but obviously no one's gonna remember that now because of that. Number 4, this one pains me a lot. Over the weekend, the Miami Heat did something historical by giving the first player in their franchise history a statue, and Dwayne Wade. They gave him a statue, and for those of you who haven't seen it, it looks like Dwayne Wade is probably 80 years old in that statue. Now, I will say one thing I gotta give him credit for is they picked the right moment. Him jumping up on the
Right.
scores table saying, "This is my house."
Mhm.
That is the right moment to do. There's no other moment that is better than that, in my opinion. I mean, there's a few, but they picked the right moment. But man, the face is just brutal on the statue. It looks nothing like him. I tried, I had my bias
I
out at
know.
the beginning. I was like,
I
it's not
know.
that bad, but as it's marinated over the last couple of days, I'm like, man, it's pretty bad. Now I will say the hate it's getting. One thing is that I don't think a lot of people understand is that Dwayne Wade was in the process of making that statue with them almost every day. So there's pictures of him literally working on the face with the sculptors. So it's like as long as he's happy, I'm kind of happy at the end of the day. Um, Another thing is they didn't use any like technology or like a machine to like 3D print a face onto him. It's like they wanted to keep the whole like it's art thing go, so that's handmade. I don't know why I'm really defending this. It's a bad looking statue, but I
I'll
have heard
get.
from some Miami Heat. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
I can make sure I get a picture with you next to it tomorrow. Don't worry. I know you
Okay,
want one
bet
anyway, but
that
yeah,
I do. I'm not gonna hate on it too much. It's just the face. They picked the
I
right
know,
moment.
I
But
know.
something I have heard from Miami reporters is they are saying that it looks better in person. So when we go there tomorrow, we'll confirm if it looks better in person or not. Another good thing they did though, at least, was give him Dwayne Wade Boulevard on 7th Street. At least they did that for him. They didn't mess
Yeah,
that up.
yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. That's number 4. It hurts me to put it on there. Number 3, I also have Anthony Richardson taking himself out of the game because he's too tired. and ultimately losing the game. And also just throwing 10 for 32. That is insane. Like, how do you do that? That's a brutal stat line. I personally
Horrible.
don't see him being like a future of the franchise sort of quarterback at
No.
this point in time. I know a lot of people were giving him that title early on. I don't see it right now.
I
Number
saw it at
two,
Florida too. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Number two, I also have Tyreek Stevenson, aka number 29 on the Bears. Taunting fans not before, not during the final play of the game, and then tipping the ball directly to the receiver behind him standing in the end zone to ultimately lose the game. Just absolutely crazy that he was taunted. Instant karma, like you said. It's only right to have it on this list. Number one, I also have Aaron Boone and his decision
Hey,
making. Mainly
let's
the
go.
decision in game one, which I think ultimately gave the momentum to the
Ah,
Dodgers for the rest of the series, which is bringing Nestor Cortez in the last inning when he hasn't pitched in months. When you have, I get you want the lefty lefty matchup, right? I get that. But you have Tim Hill standing in your bullpen, who has been more than serviceable throughout this postseason.
been
Why would you
phenomenal.
not
Phenomenal.
go with Tim Hill and then wait for another opportunity for Nestor Cortez to go in a low leverage situation and get his feet wet, so to speak? It's just a terrible decision. I think that ultimately gave the Dodgers all this momentum and has led to this 3-0 deficit that they're in. So that is my number one, is Aaron Boone. I also agree with you. I think he should be fired after this year. They've given him a long run, and he's proven that he's not cut out for it at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's my
Hmm.
floor is not yours. That's always a fun one to do. Did have a lot of the same one, but there was like some very big
Yeah,
fails in the sports world this week, I feel like, so it was pretty easy to
for
pick them.
sure.
That pretty much wraps up the episode, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the GM Sports Report, where every play counts. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to be able to see our weekly episodes on all things sports. For additional content, check the description to see links to our Instagram and TikTok account. This is Grant and Mason, and we're signing off for now. Thanks for watching.
Thank you guys.